Another one of the number one questions that I get is, how do I know which country to move to? I know I don't want to live in the United States, but I also don't know which country I should choose from. So one of the things that I thought about before moving to Colombia was, okay, what are my 5 basic necessities that I need to move to a country? And then I ranked them from most important to least important. And if that country ranked on my top 3 most important, then I would consider living in that country after visiting. So now I'm going to talk about my 5 and why and how I ended up choosing Colombia. So the number one thing that I needed to feel comfortable moving to Colombia was the social life. So for me at this age, living in a more communal society was what mattered to me most. The United States culture is very individualistic, and I didn't like that. I know that I wanted to raise my children in a society that was more close and communal. And I would say arguably majority of countries in Latin America have that type of communal type of lifestyle within the people that live here. The second most important thing to me was finances. Would it be affordable for me to live here for the next 20 to 30 years? Arguably, obviously, living in South America is more affordable than living in the States, especially in your 20s. So for me, I chose to do digital nomad life. I don't know how long I will do that life, but that's what's sustaining me, and that's just what works for me here. So I knew that I would be in less financial stress living in South America, or specifically Colombia, than I would renting out an apartment in New York City, which is what I was doing. And although, yes, I was paying the rent for my apartment, I was financially stressed all the time. The third thing that's the most important for me is safety. Now, relatively, Colombia is not a safe country. But relative to the United States, I would say that it's not that dangerous either, honestly, because living in New York and walking the streets, personally me, I have never encountered any scary situations here in Colombia, but I'm also from New York. I know how to check my P's and Q's. I know where not to be, who not to be hanging out with. So I feel like that's what has kept me more safe than it is the place that I'm in. So arguably, I will say Colombia did not meet my criteria on my list for safety. But I will say that never in my life here have I ever been scared of going to public places like concerts, supermarkets, shopping centers, with the thought that someone might shoot me and kill me. That's just never even a thought that crosses my mind here. And for me, I'm okay with that. I can do my best to be in the right place at the right time with the right people, hanging out with the right crowd. I cannot control if a mass murderer wants to shoot me in school, at a shopping center, a concert, or a movie theater. And so for me, although Colombia did not completely check that box of safety, relative to the United States, I do feel safer here in that aspect. My fourth reason that is super important to me is healthcare. Now, I could see if someone was a little bit older than me that this might be number 1 and not number 4. But for me, access to affordable healthcare is important to me. You know, as I was living in New York and I turned 25 and I'm getting off of my mom's insurance plan, I was thinking, if I were to break my arm or bust my head open, them hospital bills. And here I got really sick. I went to do some lab tests, and even without insurance, out of pocket, it only ended up being $30. And so having that peace of mind that if something happened to me here medically, that it would be within my means to pay for it and I wouldn't have to have so much financial stress was a very important factor, and Colombia did check off that box. I'm so sorry for the barking dogs, but this is Colombia. The dogs run the street more than the humans, so y'all just gonna have to get through this video with me. But number 5 on my list of one of the most important things that I needed when considering where to move to was the developmental aspect of the country. So where did I see that country being in 10 years and 15 years? Because if I was gonna commit to be living in a country, potentially find love and being able to raise children in that family, I wanted to know where was that country headed within 10 to 15 years. Now, Colombia has just gotten a new president and vice president. They are more left-leaning in their politics. I am more left-leaning, although I don't strongly subscribe to any strong convictions or political convictions of things. Technologically, agriculturally, educationally, Colombia is developing in a more positive way than the stereotype of the Pablo Escobar and the cartels running everything. It's just not like, y'all just watch way too much news and TV. Like, the people here, they don't even really think twice about that stuff. Yes, it happened. We're not downplaying the level of crime and danger that was ensued all across this country in the past maybe just 40 years. But developmentally, how I see Colombia developing, I see a lot of tourists moving here. I see a lot of tourists moving here, and not just moving here, but settling here and becoming immigrants and wanting to become citizens. And that's because they see the potential that Colombia has. The same way when I used to live in Korea, nobody was moving to Korea 30 years ago because of developmentally where Korea was. But now Korea is one of the greatest places, in my opinion, to live for different aspects. So I'm not only just currently thinking of why I want to live in that country right now, but realistically, where could this country be headed towards in the next 20 years if I choose to raise children there? So those are the top 5 things that I look for when I was choosing to settle down in a country. Now, I have not chosen Colombia as my permanent place where I'm going to choose to raise children and live for the rest of my life and work and have a community. But this is just one of, I would say, my top 5 countries. I'm still exploring. Now for you, where you might be thinking, how do I even decide? How do I even choose? Maybe I don't have the flexibility or the finances to travel to all these countries and live there for 6 months and see how it is as I do. I would say that it is a lot cheaper than you think if you are a single person and you don't have other obligations like children and you do have a little bit more flexibility. What I would say is do your research. Talk to other digital nomads. Talk to other immigrants that have moved to that country. Not expats, immigrants, because that's what we are. Don't let these white travelers tell you that they're expats. They're immigrants. They just don't like calling themselves that. We're immigrants. And get honest reviews from them about the country. But specifically, you need to ask them about your top 5. Whether, for example, my parents, right now, their number 1 is healthcare. And I get it because they're in an age range right now where having access to not just affordable healthcare, but good quality healthcare is at an utmost important to them for their age. For me, it's the social aspect is like, I don't want to live in an individualistic society. I don't want to live in the Western world anymore. I prefer to live in Asia, East Asia, South Asia, South America, Africa. I prefer to live in communal societies. For me, that is at my most important because of where I am in life and where I will be for at least the next 20 years. So you need to make your list of 5 things that are the most important to you when you're considering to leave the United States. And you need to see that that country at least checks off your top 3. For me, while safety is importance, I feel like growing up in New York and growing up just naturally in an unsafe environment in general, I feel like I'm used to kind of just like having to look over my shoulder all the time or have certain tools on me to keep me safe. So for me, it was like, as long as I don't feel like I'll die at a mass shooting or something like that, I can be okay with like petty crime. I can be okay with somebody stealing my stuff. That's what insurance is for. I'm very aware that somebody might rob me. I'm never really in a position for somebody to like kidnap me, because I just feel like I am on my P's and Q's all the time. So for me, that's where safety was like, that's okay. But when I was living in Korea, safety was number one for me, and it completely checked off that box, because Korea is one of the most safest countries to live in, especially for women. So my advice to you is, if you're thinking of leaving the United States, is make sure you make that list, do your research, and if you can, spend at least 3 to 6 months in that country to see really how that list comes to life. For me, like I said, your top 3, that country has to check off your top 3, because I have met travelers or other immigrants that have gone to countries and they're like, I'm gonna see how it is for 6 months and then see if I want to stay here and live here. They romanticize the hell out of said country, and when they get there, they're really disappointed because that country doesn't meet their needs. You have wants and you have needs. The top 3 should be your needs, and the other 2 should be your wants. There's no country that's going to have all 5 and be perfect. You have to decide what's most important to you from number 1 to number 5. And then, try a couple of different countries, get a little bit of experience, talk to different travelers if you don't have the flexibility to travel as easily. That is my opinion, and I hope that helps, because legitimately I get this question all the time. The only reason why I would be moving back to the States is to finish my degree. I only have 1 semester left. That is besides the point. I have my different reasons for why I didn't finish before I left. But legitimately, the only reason why I would live in the States is like to finish my degree, if my parents are really, really sick and need me to be there, or I would have to meet a man with a lot of money. But that's about it. Ain't nothing can get me to move back to that raggedy country. Really, there's really nothing. And if y'all see me back in the States, like hold me accountable. Be like, what happened? What happened? All that stuff you was talking about, what happened? For me, the way that the United States ranks is that safety, no, that's just a no. I'm pretty sure all Americans have like PTSD from mass shootings at this point. Affordable healthcare, that's laughable. I'm not even gonna get there. Education, again, not even affordable, not even gonna go there. Social life, I think everybody just, no. Individualistic culture, not for me. And the development, I see a lot of people losing their obsession and not being married to the American dream anymore, and realizing America's not number 1. A lot of things about us are trash. We have a lot of great things, but a lot of young people, especially millennials and Gen Z, are not married to the American dream the way that our parents were. So when I see the development of how the United States will be socially, culturally, educationally, healthcare-wise, it's not somewhere that I want to be and raise my children. These dogs are really wilding out. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. I hope that was helpful. If you're considering leaving the United States and moving permanently to another country, it is a huge leap and it is a huge deal. Do your research, but at the same time, like, I didn't do much research. I did leave on a whim. One thing that I will say is, like, people say, do your research, do your research, do your research. I researched the hell out of Korea before I lived there in 2018. What I will say is, do your research for the most important things, but other things, allow yourself to enjoy and learn the country. I actually realized in hindsight that I robbed myself of the joy of just like learning to live in a new place by not over researching it. Like, I'm talking like I learned like how Korean people stand on the left on the escalators, and this cultural norm when drinking, and this cultural norm when meeting people. And it's like, no, allow yourself to like make mistakes and learn the culture from the locals. That is the most beautiful part about moving to a new place. Like, yes, do your research, but also, like, if you have the flexibility and if you have the finances, like, have fun. Like, moving to a new country should be an enjoyable and an exciting experience. It shouldn't be terrifying. It shouldn't be like, these don't check off all my pieces. Like, if it checks off at least 3, make the leap, make the jump, go for it, try the country, you know, like don't be so, oh my God, what if, because if you're even contemplating leaving the United States, that already tells me that you know that country is ghetto and you know you shouldn't be living there. So I hope that was helpful. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.